Hey y'all, Koa D is back and I am checking in with another video. Today we are going to be making this skirt using a Simplicity pattern. I'm kind of going to show you guys how to use a Simplicity pattern. I personally like using pre-made patterns. It just saves me a lot of time and I can manipulate them however I want. So I did already have this fabric from literally years ago. It's this floral printed, kind of like a curtain-like fabric, but I actually really love it. So that's what we're going to be using today. To start, I did fold my fabric in half and I'm just getting it ready to be able to place my pattern pieces on top to cut them out. So it does come with these instructions inside of the envelope. I tend to follow the pattern pieces placement. It does help me with placement a lot. But from there, really, I kind of know what I'm doing, but it is very helpful. It has directions in here. It gives you keywords, verbiage, if you don't know any verbiage. But I am going to be using the pattern placement in here so that I can know how exactly to place my fabric, especially since I'm using a fabric that has a pattern on it. You kind of want to be careful when you're using pattern printed fabric because you do want everything to match up correctly. Within your Simplicity pattern, there is a detailed sheet that shows you what exact pieces you need for whatever it is you're making. So here I am just cutting out those pieces for the skirt that I am making. So I did show you guys in the beginning that I am making skirt D of this pattern, which is a shorter version. So there is a cutting line on there that tells you exactly where to cut. When you're placing your pattern pieces onto your fabric, you do want to make sure your grain line is parallel to your selvage edge. And you also do want to make sure that you are following the instructions as far as what needs to be cut on the fold and what needs to be cut twice. So here I'm just pinning my pattern pieces onto my fabric based off of my pattern placement that was within the Simplicity pattern. You do have the option to iron your pattern pieces if you do feel like the wrinkleness is too much for you. They do come in the packaging folded, so that's why it comes out so wrinkled. Just make sure if you do iron it, you iron it on low heat. So here I'm just cutting off any excess from the pattern pieces and also trying to make room because I don't have a lot of fabric, but this is what I came up with as far as my pattern placement for my skirt and my waistband of the skirt. Once you have those pattern pieces pinned, you can get straight to it and start cutting out those pattern pieces with your fabric. These little triangles on your pattern pieces are very, very important. These are called notches and they're used for when you start sewing so that you're able to match everything up later. You want to just grab your scissors and snip right in the middle of it. That is marking your fabric so you're able to find them once you start sewing. So you are just going to go through all of your cut out pattern pieces and make sure your notches are in each and every single piece. I kind of like flip it around and make sure I'm not missing any triangles so that I'm able to properly sew later on. So this is a step where we will be marking everything before we start sewing. You do want to make sure you have a fabric friendly marker and some pins. The way I mark my darts, I use the pins and put them through the small little holes that you're going to see on the pattern pieces. And it'll tell me exactly where I need to mark my fabric using my marker on the other side of the fabric. Also, it'll go straight through, which is why I use pins, so you can mark on the wrong side and you can mark on the right side of the fabric so that you know exactly where you'll be sewing your darts. So this is where the vent of the skirt back will be. It's pretty much the same process that I'm using as far as marking goes. The same process I use for the darts is the same process you're going to use for the vent of the back of your skirt. And don't forget to thread your machine properly so that your sewing goes nice and smooth. So the very first step with your skirt, you're going to stay stitch the upper edge of your skirt front and back, 1/2 inch from the edge of the top of the skirt. And you're going to do it in different directions. So you're going to start from the top left. At the edge, you're just going to sew down, meet in the middle, and then on the right side, you're going to start from that edge, sew down, and meet in the middle. My little points here, if you can see, I have a green and a purple. The purple is kind of faint, it's hard to see. And then I have this blue here, so I can do my darts on the back of the skirt. Sewing darts is pretty easy. You're just going to fold it in half like so, and make sure the dots that you placed on both sides are matching. The way you can make sure of this, you can use that needle method that I showed when it came to the patterns, and place the needle in the middle of those little markings that you made, and make sure that it also goes through the circle on the other side of your fabric like so. And you're just going to want to repeat this process for all of your dart circles on both the front and the back. Pretty much, you just angle it. And darts are not something that you want to like speed through. When you get to the middle part, yes, it's okay to do that. Okay, so we're kind of getting to the point here, I can see, so I'm just going to slowly and perfect. You want to make this long enough also so that you can tie it at the edge. So we're going to tie it right here. You can double knot, triple knot, depending on how I feel. Sometimes I'll triple knot, depending on how you feel. You may feel like you want to double knot. I usually don't like too much tension on my darts, so I usually tend to double knot. We will be starting the actual assembly of the skirt with a base stitch, so I'm turning up my stitch length here. Okay, so we're going to baste from the bottom line all the way up to where your dot is, that large dot you have. Then we're going to stitch from the large dot all the way up to your notch. This is going to be an actual seam, 5/8 in your seam line. So we're going to reinforce our opening. So what that means is so that this can stay reinforced, this area right here where our vent is. So we're going to go 1 inch above. In that 5/8 line, we're going to go in, get down to your dot, your little purple dot here, and then you're going to pivot the machine, and then we're going to sew all the way down here. Okay? This step is pretty easy. Once you're done reinforcing, you're just going to clip the right back of your skirt in between where you just reinforced. So at this point, you do want to go ahead and press your vent extension towards your left back. Then you're going to baste the upper end of the vent extension in place along the 5/8 seam allowance. On the left back of the skirt, we're going to stitch on the right side of the fabric along that basting, and then we're going to remove that basting from the vent. So this is what the back of our skirt starts to look like, a beautifully assembled back of our skirt. We have a beautifully sewn vent. To finish off that vent, we are going to sew down from where one of our markings are, all the way down to where the vent ends. So I did put a pin here so that I know exactly where I need to stop sewing and where exactly I need to pivot my machine. So we are going to be starting on our zipper. To start, you want to make sure you have a tape measure and a 7-inch zipper. So once you have your tape measure, we're going to measure 5/8 of an inch on our left back opening edge and 1/2 inch on our right back opening edge. I used a pin to pin them in place because once you have that pinned in place, you want to go ahead and press that. So here I do have a all-purpose 7-inch zipper here. It's very simple to put this zipper in. You're just gonna place your zipper face up along your press edges that you just pressed. As you are placing your zipper, you want to make sure that you place your zipper teeth close to your press edges. Once you have your zipper placed, you want to pin that, and then we're gonna base our zipper all the way down on the left and right side. And please do not forget, when you are basting, you turn your stitch length up. Once you have your basting stitch in, you can go ahead and put in your final stitch. Just make sure your final stitch is sewn close to your zipper teeth, and then take your basting stitch out. So now we are to the front of our skirt. From here on out, it is extremely easy. We basically are doing the same exact thing we did with the back, except the front is much easier because it was cut on the fold. It is one piece. So we are going to start with putting in our darts first. Once we have our darts in, we're going to go ahead and stitch the front of the skirt to the back of the skirt at the side seams. Now this length, I don't know if I'm really a fan of the length, but I think probably I'm gonna cut it short, like this, for my boots, but not to see, because I really like this style. It doesn't even go, bro. I'm so pissed. Is this your life? Like, it looks like it goes like this, but when I look at it in the mirror, it does not go. It doesn't go. This is even worse. This is a disaster. Alright guys, so we are in the last stretch. Here we have our facings and our inner facing. We're going to be applying the inner facing to our facings using an iron on the wrong side of the fabric. Once you have that inner facing applied to your facings, you can go ahead and stitch at the side seams of your facing sections. You want to match up your notches, and you can go ahead and sew. I went ahead and serged the edges because I just like a nice finish on my facing. I also serged the bottom edge of the facing. Assembling your facing to your skirt is pretty easy. You just want to put the right sides together and pin the facing to the garment. This is also another case where you need to be matching your notches, you need to be matching your side seams, and also with this particular pattern, the facing does extend out 5/8 of an inch beyond the left back opening, so you will have that extra fabric hanging out there. Once you have that assembled together, you can go ahead and put in your base stitch. After you're done with that base stitch, you want to analyze the skirt to make sure there's no discrepancies in that base stitch. Once you're able to see that there are no discrepancies, you can go ahead and put in your final stitch, 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So once you have your facing on your skirt, you want to go ahead and trim that seam down just so that you can get rid of some bulk. Once you have that facing seam trimmed, you want to go ahead and open that same seam and press it open. We do need it laying flat because we are now going to be doing something called a understitch, which is sewn about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch away from the seam line. So the extra fabric that is on our facing, you want to go ahead and fold it in and over. You want to go ahead and press this and then hand sew it in place for a clean finish. So here I'm just going to cut a few inches off of the skirt. I did find an old skirt that I really like the length of, and I just put it on top of my garment, and I'm just using that skirt as a reference for length. You want to use pins to go ahead and pin that all the way around so you can get ready for your hemming. At this point, I did already try the skirt on so I can see how short it is. And also I can go ahead and measure the hem that I want on me. Once I did that, I was able to take it off and just make sure that everything is aligned so that I can go ahead and hem my skirt. And once I have it all pinned, I'm taking my steamer so that everything can lay flat and I can go ahead and get ready to hem. And for our final touch, we are going to be hand sewing a whip stitch onto our hem of the skirt. These are our final results. I am so happy with how this skirt turned out. It came out so cute. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.